Good day guys, and welcome to another video. As you all know, I am now back home in Trinidad after 2 years, and that is mainly because of the pandemic, and Trinidad borders was closed for most of that time. It has been only opened a few months now, and they put in place a lot of protocols, and I have first-hand knowledge of what it takes to travel to Trinidad during the pandemic. So I thought this video will be a nice guide of traveling to Trinidad during the pandemic. Now, before we move on, if you like this video and you like what you see on this channel, please consider subscribing and hit that like button. The interaction helps me. Okay, now let's get to the video. As mentioned, there are many protocols to travel to Trinidad and Tobago in these times, and it could be basically broken up into two categories: non-nationals and nationals, which I fall into as a citizen. Let's go over the non-nationals first. If you're a non-national and you want to travel to Trinidad for whatever reason, you need to be vaccinated. They are not allowing unvaccinated non-nationals into Trinidad and Tobago. And even though you're vaccinated, there are a few things that you need. Firstly, you'll need proof of that vaccination. Secondly, you'll need to have a negative PCR test. And thirdly, you will need to go to this website where you would be able to apply for a travel pass to enter Trinidad and Tobago. Now, those three things I mentioned, I will go into more detail a little later on in the video. Ensure you watch the entire video to get all the details. Now, that is non-nationals. What about nationals, citizens? Citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, vaccinated or not, could still enter Trinidad and Tobago. But of course, the protocols are different accordingly. Unvaccinated individuals will need to quarantine for 14 days in a government-approved hotel. And remember, this quarantine is at your own cost. The government or no one else is paying for this. You have to pay for this 14-day quarantine. Now, you still have to go through a process. You will have to go to that same website to apply for your travel pass to enter. Everyone entering Trinidad and Tobago needs that travel pass. So you'll still need to go on that website, show proof of your booking and that it is paid for, which hotel that you booked, and only then will you be allowed to enter Trinidad and Tobago, where you will be carried directly to that hotel for quarantine. And then at the end of the 14 days, you will be given a PCR test, and it needs to be negative before you're allowed to leave. So that is for unvaccinated nationals. Now, vaccinated nationals is the route I took, and the requirements are basically the same as a vaccinated non-national, where you would need these three things. Now, I'll go over those three things in a little more detail now, because there is some important information that you really need to pay attention to. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need is proof of vaccination. Now, Trinidad only considers who approve vaccinations, so I'm going to put the list of who approve vaccinations that Trinidad recognizes. All right, now you're only considered vaccinated by Trinidad standards after 14 days have passed, after you've gotten your second dose or you've taken the one-shot Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Basically, after you're fully vaccinated, you need to wait 14 days. Then you could travel to Trinidad. So you will need a digital copy of the front and back of your vaccination card. Secondly, you will need a negative PCR test. Now, very important, 72 hours before you arrive in Trinidad, you need to take that PCR test. Remember, I am saying arrive in Trinidad when you land, not when you left or whatever flight you might have a layover of a few hours or a day. You're not counting that. You're counting 72 hours from the time the plane lands in Trinidad and Tobago. And it needs to be negative. It usually takes 24 hours to get the results of those things. So you'll need a copy of your negative result from a certified clinic. And thirdly, you will need to take your vaccine information and your negative PCR test and your flight information, and you will then apply for the travel pass. You'll go to the website that I have on the screen and you will input your phone number, and they will send you a code for verification, and then you start the application process where you fill out your personal contact information, you fill out your flight information, and the flights are listed so you could choose the airline and the flight, and you fill out your vaccine dates, the type of vaccine you took. Then you will need to upload your vaccine card. Then you would need to upload your PCR test and the date when you took it. Only then, with all that information inputted, will you then be approved and you'll be given a printout with a QR code. You can have it on your phone or you have a physical copy. Only then will you be approved to travel to Trinidad and Tobago. So you need those 3 things. I know it sounds like a lot, but let me go over my experience very quickly so you realize it's not as hard as it maybe is sounding. Okay? After I got my second shot of the AstraZeneca vaccine, I then went online and I booked my ticket right away because I counted the 14 days. So I got my second shot and I booked my flight. Then 3 days before, or 72 hours before my arrival in Trinidad, I went to a drive-through clinic and I got the PCR test done. It wasn't fun, but you have to enjoy it. It's quite expensive. It's the price you pay for coming home. It took 24 hours for me to get the results. And then I scanned my vaccine card front and back. I had a digital copy of my negative PCR test. I went online, I uploaded my vaccine card information. I uploaded the negative PCR test. I filled out my flight information and I applied for the travel pass. And almost right away, I got it. And with that information, I printed everything out in hard copies. I was able to now pack up everything and head to the airport and travel home. While checking in Jamaica, although I had a connection flight in Panama, but in Jamaica, they ensured that I had everything. They had a list of the requirements and they double-checked everything. And upon arrival to Trinidad, when you exit the plane and you enter the terminal, they make you line up socially distanced and they double-check all the information. They scanned the QR codes. Of course, I was all ready to go, me and my daughter, and then we went to immigration. So they double-checked the information before you go to clear immigration and customs. And then it was smooth sailing. So that is basically my little guide on how to travel to Trinidad and Tobago during the pandemic. You just have to make sure you have everything. It is not as hard as it sounds, and you will be fine. So I hope this gives hope to everyone, every Trinidadian abroad, that they could now come home. As always, thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate you guys' support. Continue to like and subscribe. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.